We're on page 30, or 31 in English. On a WhatsApp group today in the morning from certain family members in New York, I got a message that said, oh, there's these school buses, they put special cameras on them, they're taking pictures of people who drive by the school buses, they pass them when it says do not pass, and the city makes $250 per ticket, and the school buses are now the ones taking pictures. Oh, we should complain to the city, they're trying to take our money, there are all kinds of back and forth. And I answered back and I said, I love this group. I said, because there's a law that says you cannot pass a school bus. So now they found a brilliant way to enforce the law, and now it's their problem that they're enforcing the law instead of it's your problem that you're breaking the law. And then all these jokes of, only San Diegans drive the speed limit, only San Diegans do. And I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is that when you don't break the law, you don't need to worry that someone's going to catch you. See, if there's nothing you're hiding in your house, so what do you care if someone checks your house? But if you have a stash of drugs in your bedroom, well then you're going to be worried if someone's going to look around your bedroom. In general, this is a good mentality to have. If I've got nothing to hide, I live a very secure life. The word in Hebrew for this is called shalva. You say this on Shabbat afternoon mincha. You say, Menuchat shalom v'shalva hashket v'vetach. It means a rest of shalom, of peace. I'm going to skip shalva. Hashket is of silence, leave me alone. And vetach is security. I'm secure, I'm safe. I have an alarm system on my house. Whatever makes you feel safe. I have tehillim in my, whatever makes you feel safe. Shalva is serenity. It's not so simple to reach shalva, but the first step to reaching shalva is making sure you don't do anything that's going to get you in trouble somewhere.
And if it does, own up to it and pay the fine.
Very good. Okay, exactly. So you broke the law. What do you want? It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
In general, there are people who they live their whole life, until the next time someone catches me, until the next time, and they don't realize that they think they're outsmarting the whole world, but they're living a life that has no inner peace. It's a life of terror, till the next time. It doesn't just have to be with the law. It doesn't have to be with police. It's kids who do things in school they shouldn't do, people who do things with their behind the back of spouses they shouldn't do, people who do in business things they shouldn't do. This guy, I was once at a place and one man said, you should see when I had a store on the East Coast how I used to cheat people out of their money. I was like, are you bragging about it? I'm trying to understand. Like, you're in public, you're bragging, and you want us to tell
to the world.
It's an incredible thing. But this guy thought he was the smartest, slickest guy in the den.
I got away with it.
And then he wondered why I wouldn't eat at his house. I'll tell you why I wouldn't eat at his house. Not because I didn't appreciate the company. If you're telling me you stole from people outright in the middle of the day, you brag about it at your table, of course I'm not going to trust you that your food at the table is kosher. My logic is I can't trust you. You're not a trustworthy person. Forgive me for being strict.
So you should go golf with somebody before you eat at the house. Because you learn about a person's character when you
I'm sure. There was a restaurant in Jerusalem that I used to go to often. A pizza store was next to the yeshiva, so we'd always walk by it. And there were 3 pizza stores in the neighborhood, but this was the only one that had a Mahadran kosher certificate. The other 2 were not. So I don't really care, but the guys I would go with, they only eat Mahadran kosher. Okay, well, fine. Then one day we came, and in the old city you get special prices on food when you live there, because they up the prices for tourists. So imagine that if a shawarma costs 34 shekels, if you live in the old city you get it for 26. And it's always the big question, like, can you just say you live in the old city just for the fun of it? Like, just so you get they start asking questions. Yeah, which yeshiva do you go to? Yeah, who's your rabbi? They have a list of questions, but you save money, instead of paying 10 shekels for a bottle of orange juice, you'll pay 6 shekels, so on and so forth. So I come into this place with my friends, and he says, hey, what do you want? He's like whispering. I said, we came for pizza. He says, can you buy it from the back of the store? I said, the back of the store? Why would I buy pizza in the back of the store? He says, nah, just smocha, rely on me, just come to the back. So we went to the back, and my friends went there. I had been waiting in the front. So he sold them pizza, I guess 6 shekels a slice, and there was this tourist couple that was in Europe, America, I don't know where they came from, and he sold them a pie of pizza for 150 shekels. meaning the pie normally went for 40 shekels or 45 shekels. He sold it 150 shekels, and the bottle of, I guess they got Coca-Cola, their bottle was 45 shekels. So he gave him this huge bill, and he just didn't want us to come in there and mess up his elaborate scheme. You know, he made 100 extra shekels. It's like $25. He thought he won the lottery.
He was worried that when the tourists came and said 146, you guys would have gone, what?
That's exactly what he was worried about. Yeah. And the truth is that I told him in his face, I told him, you don't have a mahadir and extra. I said, you shouldn't even have a kosher certificate. I said, this is not a style of doing business. He said, this is how you got to, they were telling me, this is how you got to survive in this country. I don't know, this is how you steal from people in this country. So
kosher is not just the kashrut issue as far as the having it kosher. It's the consciousness and the awareness. And
I believe so very much. You know, when the chief rabbinate, and I commend them actually, it's one of the few times I commend the chief rabbinate. The chief rabbinate discovered there was this animal slaughterhouse in Israel that was abusing animals. This year they took away their kosher certification.
That brings a whole, sorry for disrupting, brings a whole new meaning to when somebody even non-Jewish people say, are we kosher with this? Is that kosher?
Right.
Yeah, it does.
You know, this is a big fight. It's a big fight among the rabbis, and the reason is because in Israel, kashrut is run by the government. The question is, if there's a nightclub that says we want a kosher certification, and they're willing to make a glatt kosher kitchen, and they're willing to have every kind of hechsher that you ask them for, but they want to have not tzniut things there, all kinds of dancers and whatever they have. Do you have to give a hechsher to their restaurant? The chief rabbinate says we don't want to do it. Why would we give a certification to a place we don't think people should go to? The government says you don't have a right to assess anything except for the kashrut of their food. And right now, it's actually today, it's in the agenda of the Israeli Knesset, back and forth. They're trying to force the chief rabbinate to certify establishments that they don't appreciate the spirit of as long as the food is kosher. And this begs a bigger question. So what is kosher really? And there is truth in saying that, you know, when you abuse an animal and it's slaughtered, that animal might actually be it could be a kosher slaughter. But there are other avirot that you violate, like not abusing an animal. But does that take away from the kashrut of the animal? Not necessarily. It could. Not necessarily. But would I want to eat that food? This is back to these questions. And then what do you really know what goes on in the world?
Released it in the blood of the animal.
Well, there are broken bones or something like that, and the lungs are punctured or whatever. All kinds of things that could happen.
To come around this way.
But the truth is, that there's a lot more than what meets the eye. So let's look inside. It says the Rabbeinu Avraham. V'lachen, and therefore, yesh mehem shamu. Some of our sages said, Yehi chelki imi shechoshrin oto ve'en bo. May my portion in the next world be with one who was unjustly accused of something. Unjustly meaning he was accused of something and it turned out to not be true. V'lo nitkaven lechach she'adam oved Hashem yachshid atzmo al haberiyot. He doesn't mean to tell you that a righteous person who wants to serve Hashem should make himself suspicious. He shouldn't deliberately arouse suspicion against him. Adrabak, to the contrary. Al kach hizhiru be'omram. This is what they mean when they say, Lefi she'adam chayav letzet yedei haberiyot kederech shu chayav letzet yedei hamakom baruch hu shneimar v'item nikim Hashem Yisrael. A person should satisfy people's expectations just as he needs to satisfy Hashem's expectations. As it says, you shall be clean of suspicion before Hashem and Israel. It's not enough to say, oh, I'm good with God. I don't care what people think about me. That's not true. It's very important how people perceive you. Now, obviously, there's a limit to how much you can control the way people perceive you. But you shouldn't deliberately do things that arouse suspicion against you just because you know what you're doing is right. I think I mentioned in one of the classes recently, like moving around during Shemona Esrei. When did I mention that?
Maybe last night.
No. I don't remember if it was in the Kola class. Technically, there are situations which arise, and I mentioned one here, where you're allowed to take a few steps in Shemona Esrei. But because other people will see you and say, like, what is this crazy guy? That's what he does. It was on Shabbat, right? So you have to make sure you don't arouse deliberate suspicion against yourself, even if what you're doing is correct. Ela, rather, hakavana is the intention is she'im noheg hu kara'ui. If he acts properly, v'tocho kevaro, and his inside is the same as he is outside, Azai lo yashgiach b'anashim ra'im afilu yechsheduhu b'meh she'en bo. He should not care or take concern into people that suspect him, so long as what they're suspecting of is false. And this is a very delicate topic. I'm publishing my book again this week. I'm reprinting the first book that I wrote. And when I wrote that book, I was very worried. My wife pushed me to write that book, and I had manuscripts of that book from when I was still single. And it took my wife, because I told her, I don't want to be put in cherem before I get married. I don't want to be excommunicated before I even get a chance to get a good shidduch.
Reduce your shidduch score, your FICO score.
The truth is,
you're starting to sound like you married up.
The truth is, the reason I wasn't put in cherem is probably because the book didn't get to the wrong people's hands, not because of anything else. But there were things that I was worried. Should I say them? Should I write them? Should I express them? And sometimes I rounded some corners in as harsh as I would have liked to be. I wasn't that harsh. You have to be careful the way people are going to perceive things. On the other hand, you don't lie just because that's how people will do it. I'll tell you a personal story. Why not? I was once offered a shidduch date before I got married, when I was still living in Jerusalem. Don't worry, my wife knows the story, nothing news. It was a very, very wealthy family that lived in the old city that clearly they had their eye on me for a while, and they finally took the move to contact one of my rabbis who got in touch with me, who go, oh, who's that boy? Okay, listen, I wasn't so interested in dating at the time, but, who knows, maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is the one. They called my parents, they called my rabbis, they called the whole thing. By the time it got to me, they had already known the whole world about me. And then the parents of the girl said, well, now you can ask whatever questions you want, but before you date the girl, you have to date us. I had to go on a shidduch date with her parents.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so I sat at this table with them.
So romantic.
And they were trying to, it was such a ridiculous conversation. I mean, there are some people that have money, Baruch Hashem, and they don't. Okay, so Hashem gave us, and we were humble about it. These people, they thought that they owned the whole world because they had a few extra dollars from other people. One of the questions they asked was, what are you going to do to spoil your wife? In those words, spoil. I said, why would you want to spoil another human being? I was a young rabbi, a student of Rabbi Peretz. So what do you mean? He says, what are you going to do when you get her mad? What are you going to buy her from the mall to make her happy? This is like a whole. I guess I don't float around these dimensions. No, when I get my wife upset, I don't go buy her flowers. I have a conversation with her. When I don't. Maybe I live in a different realm than other people do. But this is what this. Actually, honest. We're honest. That's what the world wants from us. And I told him, listen. So I gave the whole. I don't think we should spoil anybody. I don't think we should. And then he said, okay, asking a question here, asking a question there. He said, this yeshiva that you're teaching, they're Zionists. I said, yeah.
Now, Israel?
I said, yeah, of course. He said, what do you mean, of course? Of course. He said, well, when they pray here on Yom HaTzmaut, you pray with them?
This is the same date?
The same date.
Look, they
had their eye on you and they didn't know?
They didn't know. They said, did you pray with them? I said, of course. I'm one of the rabbis in the yeshiva.
Like they didn't believe it.
They said, oh, we thought you didn't pray with them on Yom HaTzmaut. I said, why? Did you say Hallel with them on Yom HaTzmaut? Now, at this point, I was like,
how disappointing, Rabbi.
So I told them, yes, I say Hallel on Yom HaTzmaut.
Oh, no.
The room went quiet. And then they said, we're just going to have to go to our daughter, relay the information. The next day, I got a message. I'm sorry, we spoke to our Rav. Now, they're a Sephardic family that has a Rav. And the Rav told them that
that's for you in your book.
Wonderful. The Rav told them, it says in the Torah, Al tachnis to'eva el beitecha. It is forbidden to allow an abomination into your home. And this person that says Hallel and Yom HaTzmaut is an abomination that you cannot allow to enter your home.
It's true.
And I said, Shalom on Israel, good riddance, good to you, good to the rest of the world.
Who cares?
Why did I share the story with you? I don't remember actually anymore. But the truth is that in general, people are choshed you. They suspect you of something, and it's nothing that you need to be worried about. Don't be worried about it. But now I remember why I told you this. When I went back to Rav Peretz and I told him the story, he was furious. He was so upset that there are such people left in the world. And a few times they said, Mishelanu, they're one of us. They're Sephardic people from... I said, yes, Rabbi, they're as Sephardic as it gets. And he said, it's incredible. He said, these radicals have infiltrated even the ranks, it's incredible. And then he told me, but next time you don't need to say anything. So what do you mean don't say anything? So not everything that you do you have to put out there on your sleeve. Some things you just have to do quietly. You have to... And we had an interesting conversation about whether that's called covering up or whether that's just not displaying all the information. When you go somewhere and there's something about you that could upset other people, steer away from that topic. Not everyone has to know everything that you think in your head. You're going to go to a table and you know that everyone is from a different political party. And you have a choice. You can either speak about your side of the... I'm not asking you to hide anything. You could speak your side of the coin and then, how come you're all being so mean to me? Or you could just avoid the topic. Just, keep past the rice, please. You have that choice to make. And sometimes in life, the wisest choice is just to avoid things which will arouse any kind of incitement or anger in your end, while not lying or hiding the truth. It's like walking on a tightrope. You have to know which side you're falling on. You're not trying to appease everybody. You're just trying to keep the peace. And there's a difference between those two things.
You would fail a polygraph test with that attitude.
Okay, for sure. All right, we'll continue more tomorrow. There's one more sentence, I guess. And therefore, regarding inward purity, I wish to say, Amar David HaMelech, King David says, Bechoneni Adonai v'naseni. It probably means Bechaneni. Bechaneni Adonai v'naseni tzarafa chiliotai v'libi. Hashem, examine me and test me, inspect my thoughts and my heart. V'od Amar, and King David then also says, Chokreni el v'da levavi. Examine me and know my heart, Hashem. Bechaneni v'da sarapai. He says, examine me and know my inner thoughts. King David was trying to say, Hashem, what I am outside, the way I present myself to you is the way I am inside. There's no lie over here. I am who I am. I don't live a double life. And this, he says, is a very high level of what is called purity of actions, a purity of heart, and that's a very high level that we'll talk more about tomorrow.